My name is Dave Berlin, and I'm the state coordinator with Global Entrepreneurship Week, and I'm here at the roof of the incredible Ahern Hotel, one of our partners this year, and I'm very excited to see so many of the entrepreneurial groups and business owners come together. And the reason why I got involved with Global Entrepreneurship Week is it helps me further my mission to connect the people of our city, so together we can show the world who we really are. I just want to thank everybody for raising their hand and participating in Global Entrepreneurship Week.
Drove down, had nowhere to live. We were in one of the hotels for 6 weeks trying to get somewhere to live. So not planned well. But like the entrepreneurial community here is phenomenal. Like I joined a group called Entrepreneur Organization, and they're my people. Like, you know, I tell these stories and they're like, oh my gosh, I did something just like that. Yeah. Whereas most people are like,
you're crazy.
What? Okay. You did what? And then you did that after you did that. Like, and so I love it here and family oriented. I've made, and I was in LA for 4 years. I don't have a close friend in LA. And here, I've been here 2.5 years. I see somebody I
maybe a degree of separation here in Vegas. And again, and it's like that can be great and that can also be
I just sit with them. I'm like, what's going on, girlfriend?
Yeah.
And it comes out.
Yeah. And I think that's what the beauty is, especially in the female space, is because we tend to come together a little bit more. We tend to share a little bit more. And I think if that's anything that any men out there can learn from us is speak up, because even for them as well, there's this like facade and person that they are supposed to be too. Just as women, we bear these burdens, men bear the burdens too of they're supposed to be the strong ones and they're supposed to, not show emotions and not emote, period. And they have to be the providers and do all these things. And I remember thinking about that because I'm divorced and just reflecting on my, past relationship and just just all the intricacies with that and just thinking like, wow, I can't imagine being in a space of all of the stress that could happen as far as having to be the provider and really knowing like it stops at you. And if you mess up, you are in charge of all these other things and all these other lives and everything. And I think, again, being a business owner, same thing is we think about that, like every decision that we make impacts so many others.
I'm Buckley, and I am your community organizer for Global Entrepreneurship Week. The reason why I got involved with Global Entrepreneurship Week is to give opportunities for everyone to see what we really have here in Vegas outside of the Strip. We are a big small town and we are a thriving business community, and there is just so much to offer here, whether you are a new business going to come to start or you want to just get out there and connect with more of the community outside of what it is specifically that you do.
I mean, Alex Hormozy too even said, like, I'm trying to remember perfectly, so I'm not probably going to butcher it, but he hired someone and he was like, hey, I want to make this brand happen. And what do you do? He just was like, okay, we're going to pay this. I'm committed to it for 12 years, I think he was. So something like that. He was committed to it for a long time. He wasn't just thinking about instant results. He committed for a long time.
That's a great point, right? Because I think, we're seeing Alex Hormozy really starting to dominate in the, marketing space and entrepreneurial space as a thought leader. And he did that event that had maybe like 155,000 people live, right? So it was a great demonstration of everything. But we're kind of seeing that, after the, 5, 10 plus years he's put into his business and into consecration. And it's interesting, that he made that comment, right? Because I think the juxtaposition of that is the small business owner who makes the commitment for like 3 months and then quits after 1 month. All right, we are back on the on the road to Global Entrepreneurship Week here in Las Vegas. My name is Elias, and I'm joined with Megan Buckley. We're organizers for Global Entrepreneurship Network, and I'm really excited today because we've got the legendary Coach Amber J on the show today. Coach, how are you feeling?
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to work with you, Elias.
Man.
Always.
Likewise. You've had an amazing year, right? Now a published book author,
Yes.
transformational life coach, just all things growing. Can you introduce yourself to the audience? Let them know what you do for work.
Yes. Well, thank you. First of all, thank you guys for allowing me and asking me to be on the show. So I am a transitional life coach. I help professionals create a successful work-life balance so you can really walk and live in your purpose without burnout and do it all in style. I'm also a wardrobe expert, an author, a speaker. And I just love helping transform people's life, giving them the keys and knowledge to implement immediately, how to actually implement things into their life so they can actually see changes. So yeah, I just get to help change people's life.
I love it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so one of the things that we really like to do on the show is talk about the Vegas market and how friendly or not friendly like the Vegas market is to entrepreneurs. Could you share with us how long you've been in Vegas and what the entrepreneurial community, how that's been like for you?
So I've been in Vegas as an entrepreneur since 2016, and the market for me has been a very difficult journey. I believe Vegas is not was not as welcoming and as inviting to outsiders, meaning if you're not a local. But I think that I have connected to some powerful, amazing people who have allowed me into their spaces. And so that's created a space for myself to be able to show up regardless of some of the obstacles. But I think that all comes apart with entrepreneurship. So I wouldn't just say Vegas. I think that it's just a matter of showing up and not being afraid to overcome obstacles. And some doors may be closed, but maybe those just weren't the doors for you. And then meeting dope individuals, creating relationships, not just transactions with people has made a huge difference too. So it's been up and down, but the consistency has been the main thing that's got me to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I've lived in Vegas my entire life.
Okay.
And there is a little bit of what you were talking about. We kind of have like our club.
Yes, like your secret society.
Yeah, like, oh, you're a local. Oh, I'm a local. Oh, we're gonna go over here. And so there is a little bit of that, and I can see how for some people it can be hard to penetrate. And so it really just depends because I know for myself and just even in conversation, sometimes it's kind of like, well, who are you and what do you want? Like, what do you want from us kind of thing.
Yes.
And so, but I think to your point too, it's like when you just start showing up and you're just being you're authentic, you're genuine, we warm up really quickly and then you are one of ours. We're like, nope, she's ours. We're all good. Like everybody, she's ours. And then we claim you.
Yes. And it's like getting that golden ticket. Like if you're approved by someone in that circle, then you kind of have an opportunity to open. But it is, and I understand it because I've been here for so long. There is a lot of people who come and they say they're one thing and they're not. And so there's been a lot of bridges burned and there's been a lot of deception. And so I get where that comes from, but you guys it's like, you got to keep knocking. So
just keep going.
Yeah. So when you do get accepted and, being authentic and showing up, finally someone will be like, okay, she's trustworthy.
Yeah.
You could try her out. Yeah. You got the approval.
Right. And to that point, I think, we do claim you, Coach, because, I think the way that I met you, it was just like very clear that you're very true to the work you do. And so the way that we met each other was through Nevada Partners. We were both youth counselors for a trauma recovery camp, right?
yeah.
So we bust like 20 some, young adults and kids. There's a range of folks from like 12 to 28 or so, right?
Yeah,
They're pretty diverse age range.
Yeah.
And you had kids really do some healing work, some kids actually crying.
Yeah.
And then you're also the top rated youth counselor for that trip. And so I think you made me cry too.
Yeah.
I was in one of your workshops. And so
I think I got tired of like, she's gonna make you cry. Like
That's
it's a
usually
good
what
thing.
I get to. So
It's like you need to cry. Let that stuff out.
right, yes, emote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've been connected since then.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And relationships is a real thing here in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
And I'm excited that I get to introduce you to Megan because
Yes.
Megan has I think 10 years experience in fitness plus multiple years experience in mindset coaching and now she's COO for Titan AI, which is I'll let you kind of tell her about
it's been an evolution.
Yeah.
So I mean, just a lot of overlap with the things that you're doing, and and I would be curious to see kind of like what drew you to that, because
Right.
I know for me it's overarching, and I got the opportunity to interview my CEO yesterday, and it was really just talking about how I recognized years ago that what drives me, my passion, my motivation is helping people just have a better quality of life.
Yes.
And I've tried on a few different vehicles of what that is. And now I've landed in tech and developing different things that I'm like, all of this led here.
Yeah.
And so I would love to hear, what is it that led you? And I know sometimes that can even just be a very deep, question to even ask of. So wherever you want to go with it and whatever you want to share, but what was it that just kind of triggered this thought of like, ooh, I need to go here. I'm being called here.
Yeah. So thank you for asking that. And I do love to go deep because I think most people are afraid to go there. And for me, that is actually what led me there. So what brought me into coaching, it was in 2013. I was married, had a good job. But I just woke up and I felt like this can't be all my life has to, and like this can't be it, right? So I went on this discovery of really seeking to find, who am I? Like, who am I if I'm not a title? Who am I if I, don't have these layers of what I'm told to be? And so it took me on this self-discovery of really finding who I am at my roots. What am I called to do? What am I here to do? And I've always been the child or the person that's been solution oriented. Like, this is the problem. Here's how you fix it. And these are the steps. So that's kind of where my journey started, is really just diving into myself. And then when I realized like, oh my God, I have all these layers of becoming what everyone else told me to be. And I wasn't happy. And then I had this freedom of like, I could do this without, it took me through a journey of like, me and my ex-husband, we separated, we got divorced, and it brought me kind of here to Vegas. And I realized like, being your authentic self and loving you is the best thing and the best medicine, and forgiving and releasing and letting people go allows you to live in your authenticity and be able to help other people do that. And when I seen that it worked for me, it was just like, I have to share this with everyone, like everyone needs to be able to experience this inner peace, this inner freedom, this inner joy, right? Like, no matter what happens to you, life can happen, but I still got a peace. I get to still smile, and that's where my journey started from and led me here to coaching.
Yeah. Oh, you're speaking all of my languages. Yes. And just I live by the belief that nothing happens on accident. Everything is very much on purpose. I am very faith-based, and so that's my anchor. And so again, it's not a shock to me that you're saying all these things. I'm like, same, bro. Yep. Yeah. Same.
Like,
wow.
You got me got the chills over here.
And so with the work that you do, because I've been in a similar space, and there's so much application and so many places to go and to help people and be that tool really for someone else.
Right.
So what is it that you specialize in? Like, what group or
what maybe gravitates towards you? And so what is that?
So I really am called to leaders. I have worked with the youth. The youth has a special place. Like that's my special place of like, I don't care what age group of youth, that's my special place. But who I feel led and called to are leaders. Reason being is because a lot of times when we're doing the work, we don't have anyone to pour into us. We don't have anyone to tell us we're wrong because we have a lot of yes people around us. And so I really feel like I'm led to leaders, professionals that are in those higher places that forget to do the basic work that it took to initially get there. And that is who I'm called to. And really pouring back into them, reminding them of to take care of themselves, take a nap, you know, love on themselves, and really be able to continue to pour into themselves so that they're giving people from a full cup and not from an empty place. Because I see that so much with leaders. They've done all the work, they're doing all of these things, their hands are in all of this giving, and no one to pour into them. So I definitely feel I'm called to the leaders.
I can that, 'cause that's a space that I was in just before coming on with my company.
Okay.
And so it's fun too, because now, you know, I've worked with leaders, with executives, and mostly with women.
Yeah.
Because that's just a little different. But now it is fun because, you know, as a leader, and this is something that I would teach my business owners, my CEOs, is that I'm coaching you to coach your team.
Yes.
And so now for me, I'm like, oh, now I get to use all of those skills to still continue to coach my team and help them navigate different things. And so I would love for you to share some of your insights, or maybe some of the common themes that you've seen, or just maybe kind of like the buckets of things that you help these leaders with, as far as, because again, to your point, like they're so busy, you know, running a business and running an organization and pouring into all these people. And sometimes it's really easy for us to like forget to do that for ourselves.
Yeah.
And so what are the themes that you notice?
So the couple of things that I see the most, it's like leaders and elite leaders and CEOs and people in a higher positions. One of them is that they're very successful in business, but their personal lives are a complete mess. And so what I do is teach them to have balance in both, that you can have a harmonious life in both areas, and your kids are not going without, or you're not going without. So really teaching them how to implement boundaries, how to implement self-care, how to implement strategies and schedules. And even though it's funny or ironic, you would see them pushing schedules at their jobs or with their employees and their team, but they don't utilize it in their personal lives, right? So really teaching that harmonious balance, that you need to take care of you first, because when you're dead, the business cannot run, right? Teaching how to delegate. That's a big thing that I see, that leaders hold on to control and wanting to be, need to know all of the things. And it's like, if you create successful team leaders that you can trust, duplicate yourself, because no one can do it like you no matter what, but learning how to duplicate yourself so that you can have time with your family, so you can remember to go get your nails and toes done, right? Or, take a nap, right? Meditate, pray. So those are the biggest themes that I see with leaders, is that they're very good with their business, they're very successful, but their personal lives, even to managing their budgets, to grocery shopping, to eating, like all of these things, you'll see it manifest in their physical, their personal lives, but business-wise, they got it all in queue. Like everything's amazing here. So just really teaching that harmonious balance, and so that they're not burnt out, because by 50, 60 years old, they're done for. Like there's no more joy in them. You see them bitter and angry, and it's like, you don't want to work this hard and in your life where you're sick and you're not well, and all of those things, mentally, emotionally, physically, and I really dive into all of those aspects of yourself, not just business or finances, but spiritually, emotionally, relationally, and those things. So I've even seen leaders end up in divorce because they don't have time for their spouse, right? So just teaching that harmonious balance.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would love for you to share like one of your favorite stories of the client of just maybe like an evolution that you watched or success? And so what is that?
Oh, well, I have so many amazing clients. Let me think of a recent one. I would say I had a client who, again, very successful professionally, but her personal life, like, couldn't tell you the last time she took a vacation and stepped away. And so she was able to finally, once we got systems in place, we got structure in place, we started pouring into her team and creating that structure, she was able to actually take a vacation.
Nice.
And it had been years since she had taken a vacation because she's just like running rugged. So that was like one that I got to see and help implement those things. And then she was like, I'm on a cruise, my phone is off, like I can't be bothered.
Yes, girl, get it.
And then she came back and she was like, there was no fires, like everything was okay. And so it was just like, wow, like you see, if you have things in place, like the business can run without you. And also sharing, because I think sometimes, you know, as a business owner, you can be intimidated, like, well, maybe they won't need me anymore. And I was like, no, they're going to need you, but they also can run without you because you're such a good leader. And so that was like probably the one, like that was a big win to just see them actually take vacation and not be disturbed and not even look at their phone or email or anything. Because that was one of the guidelines, is like, you cannot do anything work. So that was a big one.
That actually brings up a good question, because you said, you mentioned about, you know, a fear of them not needing me.
Yeah.
And so what are maybe some other fears that you hear from leaders that you work with, of why they, you know, are afraid to change or do something different, you know, whether it's delegating or stepping away? What are some of those things?
I would say I hear a lot of imposter syndrome. Learning how to wear a mask, not ever really tapping into their true selves. A lot of unworthiness hidden in the success. But I would say probably imposter syndrome is one of the themes that I see, is like they've learned how to be, but not really be themselves.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So I would definitely say imposter syndrome is a huge thing that's not talked about, but it's like something they've learned to put on that mask and I show up as this person, but it's not who they really are.
Well, and I think that's reflective in, like you were talking about earlier, and I've witnessed this and experienced this myself, both personally and in working with other individuals, is you're on fire here, but then the rest of your life is just in shambles.
Yeah.
And I think it's to that point of, when you have that imposter syndrome of like, oh, well, this is who I'm supposed to be.
Yes.
This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is, you can even find this in people where, you know, they're in these jobs. And I think we've talked about this with other interviews where, you know, people are doing things that they aren't really excited about. They aren't really passionate about. There's really no joy.
Yeah.
But they're just there and just, you know, kind of showing up still. And they're stuck in this. And I feel like there's even also, and I know I had to work through this myself too, was when I decided to step away from fitness and go more into really the mindset, the professional development, personal development space, it was, but I had been this for so long. I put so much time, I put so much effort, I put so much money in learning these skills and doing it. But it was also realizing, one, like everything is for a reason. And it's there, maybe I'm not, you know, doing fitness exactly. Maybe I'm not taking somebody through movement, through physical movement, but I'm still moving their minds. I'm still moving their hearts. And it's still taking some of those principles and applying them in a different way.
Yes, absolutely.
And so have you, you know, maybe had that experience with somebody where, you know, they've been pouring into maybe a company or something and you're like, I really actually hate this?
I had a client recently, her business, she had to finally decide it really shut down itself because she was completely depleted. Her finances was depleted. And so it literally forced her into a position to finally close the doors. But like you said, it was shifting the perspective, is that it's not that you're not doing what you love to do or passion to do. You're now just going to do it a different way. And instead of you trying to continue to do it this way, which is insanity, right? Trying to do the same thing over and over and not get results. how about we put this energy into this, and you're still serving the people that you want, you're still pouring into them, it's just in a different way. So really just teaching them how to even shift the perspective so that they can still continue to move forward and not be stuck or and stagnant in that space. And that was one. And when she like called me during, she was closing the office, and I was like, give yourself permission to cry, you know, give yourself permission that this is a loss. This is a moment that you're grieving something that you spent money, time, and investment, and you thought it was going to work this way. But giving them that permission and that space to say, it's okay, right? This is a chapter that we're going to have to close, but teaching them the tools to implement that and allow that. And when she was done, she was like, wow, thank you, you know, because it was like, it was such a burden trying to carry it, but then letting it go was also the burden. But when she actually did it, she's like, wow, I'm starting to be creative, and I met this person, and now I'm doing this. And it was like, that was kind of holding her back to going into that next phase. And so that was a really hard one, because it was like, what do you do when, you know, you're closing your doors, you know, because as entrepreneurs, when we have these visions and these ideas of what we want to create, you know, they become our babies. And it's really hard to separate that and recognize, okay, this is now business. It doesn't take away from who you are. It was just a piece of your idea, but you still have many, many more ideas and ways that you can do greater and better things. It doesn't, you know, don't negate it, but let's continue so we can continue to move forward and do what you need to do. Yeah.
I want to jump in, just say hi to Christine Garcia. Kristen, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in questions, and we'll be happy to do our best to answer them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so funny that you mentioned imposter syndrome, right? I think we had Julie Broad here 2 days ago, and she talked about the 4 monsters, and it was imposter syndrome, fear of success, fear of failure, fear of judgment.
Yes.
And those are the 4 monsters that.
I like that.
Yeah, and so imposter syndrome is an interesting one. You know, I think
is.
I still have moments feeling that. We had a really successful conference, not this last one, but the one before that, where we were able to pay out $1,500 in like learn and earn payments to students that showed up, right? And I was super stoked about it. We did a live video because, you know, part of the work is documenting it, telling the story, so that we can get more funding to be able to keep doing it, right? And so I have this video where I'm like, we just did this thing, and we involved all these partners, and the other day it popped up on my feed, and I just had the most imposter syndrome moment where I was like panicked that I even did that, and I was like, I gotta I think it was like live up to it, you know, again and again, which is okay though. And I guess the way I deal with it is, I'm curious to hear how you recommend people to deal with it. How I deal with it is I just think about my future self, think about what my future self will be doing, and think about this being a step towards that, right? But what are some snacks I can give the monster?
Yeah, because I was like, well, one, you can never recreate a moment, right? That's one thing. So this was an amazing moment. And I think sometimes where the imposter syndrome comes is we put these unrealistic expectations to show up as this person, right? And I like the idea of thinking, okay, my next self, but what about this moment and being able to enjoy this moment, take pieces from it to recreate something better, or what it is for that moment. And I think a lot of imposter syndrome comes from trying to become something you haven't seen yet, right? Like putting these unrealistic expectations on, I got to meet this quote. It has to be like this. I have to show up this way. It has to be perfect. And just kind of like right before we started, you showed me that video where this guy has like a Kleenex box, water, and he had all these views. And then years later, he came to this place. But it was like, I think imposter syndrome can be exposed when we learn to live in the moment and not put expectations on the next moment, because we can never create that until it happens. So really just being present, embracing what what came from that, and then letting the next moment be that moment.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes into a question that I had for you was, you know, when you're helping people navigate these changes or these evolutions, what are your tips to kind of help mitigate those expectations?
Get rid of them.
Get rid of
That's
the
simple.
expectations.
Oh,
Let's
stop.
keep it simple. Yeah.
No expectations, because
Mm.
you know, expectations is literally like the immediate setup for failure.
Mm-hmm.
With relationships, with friendships, with family, with yourself. When you start to put these expectations on yourself, you know, they're unrealistic, right? So I do say put in standards, put in schedules, put in routines. But if things don't work that way, it's okay. Shift, right? So learning to shift. Sometimes even in speaking engagements, I may have my mindset on this thing. I go in the room and feel and read the room. I'm like, okay, I stayed up and did 12 pages of a, you know, a proposal or whatever. I'm going to just shift it and go with the room and really learning to go within. So why your self-care is important, why your morning routines are important, why, you know, meditating is important, because the more you are connected to yourself, the more you can connect to other people. And then you're like, okay, this doesn't work for this, so let me shift it, instead of like, oh my God, I failed because it didn't work and I created this and they didn't like it. And it's like, it's okay, let it go. So don't have those expectations. They're not realistic. And I think they put you in that cycle of like the four monsters are allowed to come in that place. So no expectations, set standards, set a guideline, have things in place. If it doesn't work, shift.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And because I think, again, that's part of it too. It's like when we do have this like very set pinpointed expectation of this is the result I'm going to get by doing this.
Right.
And then when that doesn't happen, it's so easy for us to just really fall apart.
Yeah.
Because,
spiral into that down. I mean, that to that down.
And that goes
spiral.
Personally and, you know, and in our businesses. And like something that I teach my kids is I'm like, listen, your job as a kid, especially, is to mess up.
Yeah.
You're going to mess up. You're supposed to. It's part, like, that's how you learn.
Yes.
And so I think it's even just more people speaking into the fact that failing is good.
It's okay.
And failing is okay.
Yeah.
And again, going back to that permission, it's like really giving the permission to fail.
Yes. Fail forward. You know, you fall, get back up. I love that you bring up your children, because I think as adults, we have been trained to have all of these expectations on us that our parents or family or beliefs or us believing for ourselves that we've put on ourselves that are just not real. And I think children, if you watch them play, they're so creative, they're imaginary, they're free. And I think if as adults we can get to that place, you know, with lessons learned and all of that, but with that place of freedom, we can just be excellent. Like, you messed up, it's all right. You know, come on, get up, let's keep going. And it just frees us from having, you know, the fear of not doing, the fear of failing, fear of succeeding, and really just living in that, in those moments, right? Like really living there. So yeah, I think that's awesome. That you teach your kids that, like, mess up. If you don't mess up, then you ain't gonna figure it out,
right?
You know?
I'm like, please could you?
Right? Because most of our lessons, I know for me, was in my failures, right? I learned the best lessons in my mess ups, you know. Speaking about marriage and just divorce, like, I would have never known that this whole marriage thing would have or would not worked if I didn't try it. You know what I mean? So I think just mess up. Give yourself permission to make a mistake.
You know, I was just it just dawned on me. All three of us have been divorced.
Real divorce club.
But I learned a lot through my divorce too. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my relationships. I learned a lot about, you know, holding myself accountable to myself first and foremost.
Yes.
You know, it sounds, I like the idea of failing forward as well. I know I mentioned this yesterday, but you know, it's like when we're at the gym, the growth happens after you've pushed your muscles to failure, and then you get up and you try again. That's literally the only period where you're actually growing is post failure. And so that's, you know, trying to remember that in terms of our business, in terms of our workflows. And then focusing on the inputs versus the outputs. We're just talking about, you know, doing more, right? Like doing more events or doing more podcasting or whatever it is.
Right.
Like, it's hard to know what the outcome of this will be, But we know that if we just plug in a ton of inputs, right, something's
gonna
happen,
work.
right?
Yeah,
Or we're just gonna have fun doing it.
Yeah.
And that actually takes me to a question for you too, as far as play. And so, is there anything that you infuse with your practices with clients on just, again, bringing that like kind of child out of them?
Yes. So one of the biggest things I love, like hiking, going to the park. Even for me, I have 3 sons. Like getting out there and just literally playing basketball with them, getting on the swing. A couple of months ago, we went to the park, and I was like, I'm gonna get on the swing.
Nice.
And I remember just getting on the swing. But even implementing with my clients is like learning to do that thing that doesn't allow you to think, that doesn't require any effort, and just getting back to what does that look like, that free flowing, whatever it is, if it's going to the park, if it's playing a sport you haven't played in a while, but implementing something from their childhood that they love to do, painting, anything just creative to do that they haven't done or they put aside. I definitely always implement. I ask that question, like, what did you used to do when you were a kid? What did you like to do? You know, what made you excited? You know, and it takes them there to think about it. And you don't even realize as an adult how many layers of things that you put over and over, like this creative.
Yeah, it's like, I'm an adult now, I cannot have fun.
Yeah, I can't live, I can't breathe, all these
No more fun.
rules, right? So yeah, just learning to laugh.
Yeah.
Just laugh, you know. I laugh at myself all the time. Like, girl, you really did that.
You're like, oh.
Yeah.
Coach, you also got a book, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
So it's 10 keys on how I overcame transitions in my life. So it's quick keys that you can use to implement. It shares about my upbringing, how I started my journey, and what I did to overcome to continue to stay who I truly was. And I faced a lot of different obstacles. One of the biggest things that I teach on and that I live by is learning how to forgive. So I teach keys on how to forgive, how to actually implement that, and really overcome any obstacles in life. So
Wonderful.
And folks can get it on Amazon.
On Amazon, yes.
Sweet.
Amber Jones, The Key, You Are the Master Key.
Ooh, I like that. Just like subtle plug with the earrings.
Yeah.
You're like some little note right here.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thanks to Elias. I just have to shout you out every time I can. I'm really big on honoring people. And I just have to honor you, Elias. I just thank you for our relationship, the things you've done and helped me grow on the back end of coaching. So thank you.
Yeah, teamwork truly makes the dream work.
Yes.
I truly believe we're better together, and that we can help each other, and that you can learn from anybody and you can teach anybody, right?
Yes.
And you don't need to wait to climb on be at the top of some proverbial mountain to help someone.
Right.
We're all on this journey hiking together. And so
yeah,
share, honor you too, and I really appreciate you. And the folks in this room, I mean, we got Cyril and Megan. I mean,
now we met you, so we're gonna be connected.
Yeah. What else can we tell that you'd want to share with our audience today? We're really hoping to show Vegas show the world who we really are as Vegas, right? And what can you share to people watching now?
Viva Las Vegas. There's no place like Vegas. I absolutely love Vegas, and there is a pot of amazing people. You meet people from all walks of life, creative, innovative, just amazing people in Vegas. And so I would say if you can make it in Vegas, you can make it anywhere. I love it here in Vegas. There's so many opportunities coming here. And so it's really about being in position. It's really about becoming and putting your businesses in position, connecting with the right people. And I really believe Vegas is the place that you can actually grow, elevate, and become whatever it is that you want to become. Yeah. So keep going. Don't give up. That's the main thing. And Vegas has literally taught me to have tough skin, how to overcome obstacles, show up, and just do your thing and live in a beautiful place and see all the lights and things that are here. So
yeah. And really, I mean, that just kind of brings together what Global Entrepreneurship Week is all about. Okay. And it really is bringing people together so that we can collaborate and
just create more and bring to light what is possible here in Vegas.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The last thing I would say too is collaboration over competition, man.
Mhm.
Listen, we all can do the exact same things, but none of us will do it exactly the same. So like if we can learn to collaborate, like he said, teamwork makes the dream work. We get to moving the needle when there's more hands connected. So
Yeah, absolutely.
that's entrepreneurs collaborate.
Where can people find you, get your information to hire you or buy your book, all that jazz?
So you can find me at Coach Amber J Everything, CoachAmberJ.com. If you would like to book a consultation, I give a free complimentary 30-minute consultation. And if you're ready to really move that needle, you're ready to tap into purpose, now is the time. Don't wait. Now is the time.
Nice. Well, thank you guys again for joining us, and we're going to take a little break, but we will be right back.
My name is Dave Burlin, and I'm the state coordinator with Global Entrepreneurship Week, and I'm here at the roof of the incredible Ahern Hotel, one of our partners this year, and I'm very excited to see so many of the entrepreneurial groups and business owners come together. And the reason why I got involved with Global Entrepreneurship Week is it helps me further my mission to connect the people of our city, so together we can show the world who we really are. I just want to thank everybody for raising their hand and participating in Global Entrepreneurship Week.
Drove down, had nowhere to live. We were in one of the hotels for 6 weeks trying to get somewhere to live. So not planned well. But like the entrepreneurial community here is phenomenal. Like I joined a group called Entrepreneur Organization, and they're my people. Like, I tell these stories and they're like, oh my gosh, I did something just like that.
Yeah.
Whereas most people are like,
you're crazy.
What?
That's right.
You did what? And then you did that after you did that. Like, and so I love it here and family oriented. I've made, and I was in LA for 4 years. I don't have a close friend in LA. And here, I've been here 2.5 years. I see somebody I
maybe a degree of separation here in Vegas.
It's amazing.
And again, and it's like that can be great, and that can also be.
I just sit with them. I'm like, what's going on, girlfriend?
Yeah.
And it comes out.
Yeah. And I think that that's what the beauty is, especially in the female space, is because we tend to come together a little bit more. We tend to share a little bit more. And I think if that's anything that any men out there can learn from us, is speak up, because even for them as well, there's this like facade and person that they are supposed to be too. Just as women, we bear these burdens, men bear the burdens too, of they're supposed to be the strong ones, and they're supposed to, not show emotions and not emote, period. And they, they have to be the providers and do all these things. And I remember thinking about that because I'm divorced, and just reflecting on my, past relationship and just just all the intricacies with that, and just thinking like, wow, I can't imagine being in a space of all of the stress that could happen, as far as having to be the provider, and really knowing like it stops at you. And if you mess up, you are in charge of all these other things and all these other lives and everything. And I think, again, being a business owner, same thing, is we think about that, like every decision that we make impacts so many others.
I'm Buckley, and I am your community organizer for Global Entrepreneurship Week. The The reason why I got involved with Global Entrepreneurship Week is to give opportunities for everyone to see what we really have here in Vegas outside of the Strip. We are a big small town and we are a thriving business community, and there is just so much to offer here, whether you are a new business going to come to start or you want to just get out there and connect with more of the community outside of what it is specifically that you do.
I mean, Alex Hormozy too, even said, like, I'm trying to remember perfectly, so I'm not probably going to butcher it, but he hired someone and he was like, hey, I want to make this brand happen. And what do you do? He just was like, okay, we're going to pay this. I'm committed to it for 12 years, I think he was. So something like that. He was committed to it for a long time. He wasn't just thinking about instant results. He was committed for a long time.
You know, that's a great point, right? Because I think, you know, we're seeing Alex Hormozy really starting to dominate in the, you know, marketing space and entrepreneurial space as a thought leader. And he did that event that had maybe like 155,000 people live, right? So it was a great demonstration of everything. But we're kind of seeing that, you know, after the, you know, 5-10 plus years he's put into his business and into content creation. And it's interesting, you know, that he made that comment, right? Because I think the juxtaposition of that is the small business owner who makes the commitment for like 3 months and then quits after 1 month.
One thing I'm really excited about is all of the entrepreneur organizers, community organizations coming together to host events throughout the Valley to really focus on uplifting entrepreneurs and connecting with folks. If you go to the website, you'll find events hosted by people of all ages, people from all different walks of life, and people from all different levels of business.
So find your niche, I think, is the main suggestion I will say, and think that everything can be a tourism attraction.
That's so fun. And I mean, again, I think that's the fun part about just entrepreneurialism in general is, again, just hearing something like that. I know that sparked my mind to go in a million ways. And I'm sure somebody else watching this, they're like, oh, this and this and this. And so I do think that could really be that key of, instead of just going in that macro kind of vision, it's really looking at, okay, but what is this area or this sector of this city, this town, this region, what are they known for?
It's beautiful, but we wanted tourism so bad that we finally got it, and it was great. But I remember, so the same people who were crying 20 years ago saying we don't have any tourists, we are so beautiful. So the same people who were crying 20 years ago, we don't have any tourists, we are so beautiful, how is it possible? Today are the same people who are like, they cannot even open the door of their houses because they cannot physically. Like I had a friend writing on Facebook. He could one Sunday he could not physically leave his house because for the crowd outside of his